some about this case. There's a lot of information on Facebook. Truth for Trapper Kills Many, that Marcella started last August for me, right after the second false arrest. There is just tons of evidence here for everything I'm going to say on here. I have proof. I've got papers here. This is the sum of evidence here. I have audios and pictures, everything to prove every single word here is factual and backed up with facts. There's a new crime out, they're calling it organized stalking or gang stalking, and this fits a lot of that criteria. This started basically 3 years ago for this particular deal. There was my daughters and an ex from 23 years ago, and all three have mental issues and are greedy, and they make a living extorting from people, scamming, conning. My daughter Rebecca is a twin from my first marriage. There was Rebecca and Rachel. Rachel's the good one. She's a family-oriented gal, served in the Army, and she's taking care of her family, and she'll give you a shirt off her back. She's a good kid. I have character references on the Truth for Trappers site also on all this. Gets in a little more details. Rebecca was a bad one. She's had mental problems her whole life. I just never realized they were so severe until all this happened. She's set fire to my house and had abortions at 15 and ran out on her own kids twice and never paid child support or anything else, and just she's all about money, and that's the most important thing in her life. Then my daughter Sarah, who is in on this scam, is a professional scammer and thief. She's married to a thief. Ken is his name, and they've done nothing but scam and con the whole family and other people, still doing it, and they always get away with this stuff. They're sitting on tens of thousands of dollars. They collect food stamps and other aid from Arizona and Alaska, and this is just the tip of the iceberg of some of the stuff they've done. They're just pure evil people. My second wife Cindy, which is Sarah's mother, she's still jealous because I divorced her and upset over that, and they've done nothing but lie to the kids, and she's got a very violent temper. She likes to do it when nobody's around. She's tried shooting me twice and threatened suicide. This is back when Sarah was just a baby. But she's mentally unstable. There's a whole list of things she's done. And they've lied to courts in order to extort money from me. I have all their lies, and I have all the evidence proving their lies. So they started this in Arizona in 2009. I wasn't aware of what they were setting me up for. But I got to Alaska in 2010, March 2010, and I've been on disability for a few years, so I reported in the Social Security, changed address and all that, and the Department of Human Services of Alaska. Well, they didn't like how I looked, and they were scared of my name, and they said because of my looks and my name I might do something in the future, and they put me on a list. It's called Blue Flag. It's violent, and they filed a police report on me and everything else, and I've never done anything in my life, not even a parking ticket. Only thing on my record is interference with judicial proceeding when I walked out of an illegal divorce hearing with a judge, and I went to the clerk's office. I got a different judge, different hearing date, and I won. I found in my favor. Cindy was there and had a crooked lawyer, and they were lying, and I was denied the right to defend myself or show any evidence or anything. And I was a petitioner in that too, which later on she lies saying she was, but court records will show I was the petitioner. And there's nothing else. There's never been anything else on my record. During the divorce, I had been working undercover with a narcotics task force. We were going after the crooked cops and crooked judges and all. They were involved in some major meth things and some murders and different things like that. But it was disbanded, and we had threats made to us and so forth. So I left the state of Arizona back then, around 1990. I was also a federal firearms dealer through my sporting goods store at the time. So it's impossible for me to have had any crimes or criminal activity or anything like that. To have a federal firearms license, you have to have a squeaky clean record. And later in Alaska, in the evidence, you see the DAs and all that are making I had charges on my record that don't exist. The NCIC's proved this also. So anyhow, we get up there. I helped Sarah and Ken move up. They pretended to be broke. They mooched for a full year off of me. And I came back from Arizona after the first winter. I had to go down there, help my dad out. He was having heart troubles. And I went down, helped him out. I came back in the spring, and they had been slandering me all over. They've been telling people all kinds of pure lies about me, and acted to my face. They acted nice, like nothing was going on, but behind my back they were telling things. They have a blog site where they brag to be so Christian and everything. It's called Sweet Homestead Alaska, and they've never done any kind of homesteading. They mooch off everybody. But while I was in Arizona, Sarah was phone calling me, and I had some of her emails to back up everything. She was saying how they were suffering up there, and they were so broke, and they were running out of electricity. The battery bank, we have solar power up there. I designed a whole solar system, and I had two actually, a backup just in case. And they had run everything out. They'd drained gas out of everything I owned. They'd been going through all my belongings. They did inventory lists on my stuff, planning to extort from me later. This was an ongoing plan that they had planned all along, I guess. So they were complaining how they were struggling so bad. So in February I came back a couple months earlier and planned just to help them out, get them back on track. I came back, I got everything going again. They had been going through all my stuff and had taken things outside and hadn't shoveled any snow or done any kind of work around the place. And we had two big snowstorms after I got back, so it was 2 weeks before I could get to Fairbanks to get more gas, because they claimed they were broke and didn't have any, which are all lies. And because they were sitting on almost $100,000 in cash, which we now know from their previous scams in Arizona and other things. So get all this going for them, and Marcella had come up. She's witnessed everything, and they acted like everything's peachy fine. All of a sudden they start moving everything off the property, and Ken's working across the road, putting in a road and all this stuff, shoveling snow over there and all these things. And come find out they had bought their own property, 20 acres, that winter while I was gone, and lied about it. So they're all innocent. They don't know what's going on. Sarah doesn't know why Ken's over there and all this. So we get a phone call from Home Depot. Their building supplies are in for their house and all this stuff, and they get all bent out of shape about that. Well, they're denying knowing anything about it. So saying it's not true. So Marcella finds it on their blog site where they're bragging about this property they bought, and they're moving to the road to freedom and all this stuff. Well, they ended up bringing up a load of materials. They broke down, had to borrow one of my big trailers to bring it in and all this stuff, and I let them, and they didn't bring it back for 2 weeks. I lost the sale of that. In the meantime, they're telling everybody they're scared of me and all these other lies about me, just so they can get a bogus restraining order, because they know Marcella has to go back for some surgery in West Virginia. So when she goes back, I take her to the airport, I come back, and Ken is just out of control. He's being violent, making threats, everything else. I have witnesses, I have written statements from witnesses and everything else, and nobody will look at anything I have. So I called up the troopers to come get him, and I gave them notice to go on ahead and get out onto their property, 7 days to go. They have a fancy fifth wheel travel trailer that they've been living in, and they have all their building supplies now, and they're bragging on their site they'll start building their house the following week, so they could get out on their property and actually do some homesteading and actually do something. So instead, they had already gotten a restraining order on me. When troopers show up, they kicked me out of my house with no place to go, no money left, because I spent all my money helping them out. And so I have to go live in a vehicle for 20 days. In the meantime, they robbed from me, they vandalized the house, they sabotaged my semi, pulling bolts out of the cross members of the frames, stole fuel tanks off of it, and just all kinds of other things. They littered the property. I have all the pictures and eyewitnesses to all this. So I get back in, and they're wanting to go for a 1-year restraining order, and they haven't showed any evidence, nothing for the first one. It was all pure lies. Their main basis of it is because I'm a reenactor, do historical reenactments. They say I kill people for a living. And the judges buy this, they sign off on it saying reenactors at the reenactments and movie shoots that people are actually dying, that we really kill people at these events. And this is accepted. It's totally ridiculous. And so they go for a 1-year restraining order, and I'm denied anything. And I got a restraining order on Ken too in the meantime. I went to the courthouse to get mine dropped, and they said since I was a victim of a restraining order, I should take one out on him to protect my rights, which is what I did. And they're trying to say I'm harassing them. But Ken violated it over and over again. He'd hang out in my driveway, all these things, and they refused to do anything about it. I have pictures. I have neighbors for witnesses. Marcella took pictures of him. So we have the evidence of him physically hanging out in my driveway, breaking his restraining order, amongst all the other crimes they did. And ended up, the judge was the same judge. It's a female judge, and she personally doesn't like me. She told I got a lawyer to go in with me on the 1-year restraining order. He came out and told me she saw me sitting in the hallway, and just from the way I looked, she knew I was guilty. So it was a kangaroo court. I guess Fairbanks, Alaska has nothing but kangaroo courts. There's no real courts left there. It's all, they've already made up their decisions. I have posted the description of kangaroo court, and this is what they run. Everything's already decided before anybody ever gets to court, and I have never been allowed to show evidence or speak on my own behalf. I've been threatened with other harm to me and my family if I did. I have all this on paper. So we go in there, and we had made an agreement ahead of time with Sarah. She said she would sign off on everything and quit harassing, and she would sign a quit claim off the property because I had included all my kids on there as an inheritance if something should happen to me because of my bad heart. And their greed kicked in. They wanted cash money from me. So, because they had backed out of all their deals of helping out up there and everything, were forcing me to sell out. So anyhow, they are in there in this restraining order for 1 year. It's supposed to go both ways. That's what our agreement was. There was no admission of guilt of any sort on anything. Well, a week or two later, I get the copies of the restraining orders papers in the mail from my attorney, and the judge has changed our agreements on them. She's saying I was convicted. I was found guilty of committing some sort of domestic violence. They don't ever say what it was, and that's not what we agreed to. I have the emails from my attorney stating that that wasn't the agreement, and that it doesn't say it, but it does say it. And Sarah and Ken had hired a crooked attorney to use against me. He was an ex-DA, retired, and he's just as crooked as they come, Jeffrey Wooldridge. And he combined them with the state from disability thing. He got access to my Social Security records and all that, which is illegal. He has no legal rights to see that. And he used that with a combination of them to further harass me and attack me and so forth. And that's very illegal. That's colluding, and also it's part of this new gang stalking or organized stalking. It comes at you from several angles. I posted the short version of it on my site, so kind of get an idea of that. It's something new I just found out about. And I just found out about this Social Security stuff, blacklisting me and filing false reports about me and slandering me just last month in June of 2013. I just got a hold of these papers. So anyhow, I get back into my house finally after being on the restraining order, and we take pictures of all the damage and all the vandalism and everything they did, all the illegal activities. They even butchered chickens on the front porch. They were raising chickens inside the house with their little kids, and they're filth. Anyways, we took all the pictures of that, and after butchering chickens, they had left every door and window open, hoping bears would come in and tear it up further. Because it sat there like that for several days from the degree of decomposition of the chicken parts and the stench. So anyhow, they were gone. I got all the pictures took and everything, and I was in the process of packing up, moving out, and I had reported all this. Nobody would do anything about it. They promised me they would when they were there serving restraining order, kick me out. They said if they did anything, they'd go after for it. Well, it was another trooper's lies. These Alaska troopers have done nothing but lies. I've never known any of them to tell the truth about anything. They just habitual liars. So I'm packing everything up. We're getting things moved out. I've got a driver going to come up, drive my semi and trailer down to the lower 48 and get stuff out of there. I go into town to report the vandalism. I was greasing the truck and repaired damages done to it, and found the bolts missing out of the cross members, which makes it illegal to drive on the road. I have statements from a sergeant at DOT on that, and all the pictures go with it. I go in to report it to Sergeant Yancey, and earlier, it was a couple months earlier, or about a month earlier, I guess. It was during the right after the restraining order thing. The quitclaim Sarah promised to sign, she wanted it in my dad's name, and so her and my dad made a deal, and I have the emails from that. It was strictly their business. I had nothing to do with it, and all my emails and all the proof I have show it. So my dad calls up, said she's ready to sign it and to have it sent to her for him. So Marcella does that. She mails it to him, or to Sarah. I had nothing to do with it whatsoever. So when I go in to report the damages to my semi and everything, and the vandalism and thefts of everything, I had a whole list made up and all this, pictures, the whole works. I had the pictures of Ken violating his restraining order on us and hanging out in my driveway for over half an hour, which he's done many times, but this time we had pictures and a neighbor was visiting and witnessed it also. Well, I get arrested illegally because the postmark on the quitclaim form was from my post office and not from Arizona where my dad lives. And that's it. I was arrested for that, and it was totally illegal and had no grounds. It was none of my business. I told him that at the arraignment the following morning. I have it on audio, the whole arraignment. The DA lied in there and created false evidence against me, saying I had prior convictions of domestic violence in Arizona from 1989, which was a pure lie. It's on audio. They refused to show me any copies of it because it didn't exist, as NCIC reports prove it. Well, they gave me a year probation because of that, their lies and fabricated evidence. I mean, it's just as illegal as it gets. And I was forced to take a plea bargain of another misdemeanor, whatever it was, disorderly conduct, because I was leaving the state. I couldn't be there. They want to set up these court hearings for in the middle of the winter, and I had moved all my belongings outside, and I had no place to live or anything, no way to come back for a court hearing on bogus charges anyways, which the DA, if they were honest, would never have allowed it to go through anyways. It's just pure fantasy, and they knew it. They went out of their way, violating their oaths of office too. A prosecutor has an oath of office that they cannot take sides like that. If they know of the truth and they're supposed to seek justice, and they're not like a regular lawyer. They don't take one side and just pile up stuff on it. But the DAs in Alaska do. They care nothing about constitutional rights or oath of office or anything that's legal, and they're very upfront about that. So they gave me this, forced me to take a year of probation on it. So I left the state anyways. I came back the following spring, and also there's no lawyers that will defend you on these things in Alaska. I tried everywhere. They tried to bar associate everybody. No lawyers will fight. All the lawyers tell me the same thing. The system is too corrupt that they can't. I can't afford it. You have to have millions of dollars to defend yourself there, and I just didn't have enough money to afford any rights, and that's why they continued to harass me. I had to come back the following year because all the people I had interested in buying the property, Sarah and Ken and their crooked lawyer Wildridge, would chase them off and wouldn't allow them. And they were sending me one extortion notice after the other, wanting more and more every time. Every time we come to an agreement, then they'd want more. It was just pure greed, and this whole thing is just about extortion, pure and simple. They just thought they could get money from you that I didn't even have. So I come back in the following spring of 2012 to I had one more trailer load of stuff to take out, and I needed to sell the property and get it listed with a realtor or something. So we get it up there and getting everything together and moving out, getting ready to move out and everything, and their lawyer refuses to talk to me about any kind of a settlement agreement or whatever. I just wanted to get this done and settled and over with. The restraining order was over with. I went down to the courthouse. There's only a few more months left on the probation part. I went to the courthouse and asked them about sending a letter, because it takes 2 months to send a letter to their lawyer to get back, if they even answer. And in the short seasons, I didn't have that time. So the courthouse told me, yes, it was okay to send a letter, just no personal contact because of the probation. They never sent me any terms of probation or anything, because it was just a misdemeanor thing, and I was never told any conditions of it, just the no contact part. And the courthouse said a letter was okay, and so I just wrote up a letter to ask what they wanted, and I gave them some options, whatever they wanted to do. And about a month later, they decided, well, we had went in, finally I got a lawyer. I sold the semi to a guy, a wholesaler, to get some money, because they refused to answer that letter. And so I sold the semi for wholesale. The money was supposed to go to my dad to repay monies I'd been borrowing him, and ended up having to go to an attorney to try to settle this whole matter, so I can sell the property and pay him off. And we go in, ask for mediation to try to get this settled with their attorney. Well, finally we get a settlement agreement, which they never honored that one either. This is like the 5th one they've never honored anything they ever do. And anyways, I agreed to pay them extortion money just to get it off and be done with it, and be done, get them out of my hair. So get that done. They end up reporting the letter in to the troopers, saying I violated my probation. So they're all hot to come after me now. And they're also saying that I went in and talked to Ken's boss. Well, I didn't. It was Ken's boss, but I didn't know it was. He'd switched jobs while I was away. Nobody notified me. He changed jobs. And I went to talk to a guy that I thought was interested in buying the house for their construction crew up there, because they're building new roads and all this up there. And it wasn't until later I found out it was Ken's boss. And Ken wasn't the subject of the conversation anyways. It was about buying the house, and I had disclosed the past problems with the deed and everything, and it was supposed to have been cleared up and cleared to sell now. So I was going to pay them their extortion. So they're trying to use that against me too, which is totally illegal. And the courthouse told me the letter was okay. That's entrapment, pure and simple, pure entrapment. So, and it's just misdemeanor stuff, and you're supposed to serve somebody with a summons first, especially on a misdemeanor. And I had talked to him back and forth for several days there, and even Yancey, and I told him, get a hold of my lawyer, we were going to come to town to straighten it out. Well, they didn't want to do that. They sent 2 rookies that are mentally ill, they're children, and on power trips. Sent them to my house to arrest me on this. And they had no warrant, they had nothing. They thought my probation was ending the next day, on the 9th of August. They came on the 10th. The probation actually had another month to go, but they're not very intelligent, these state troopers. They came up there to arrest me on it. They snuck in. I think they were going to do more than just arrest me, because it was just a misdemeanor. I'm 150 miles in the bush. They came in and violated our rights majorly. They had no warrant whatsoever of any sort, no search warrant, no arrest warrant, nothing. They snuck in, they parked the car out of sight, snuck in, attacked us in our home, broke into the house illegally. I defended our home. I was surprised. I was inside my house coming to the door when this Neeson attacked Marcella, who was outside on the porch. Met him out there. He attacked her and then chased her into the house, thus surprising me as I was coming to the house, and I put him down. He just fell over boxes. I didn't even touch him. He's uncoordinated, and makes Barney Fife look like a kung fu artist. He just fell over a bunch of boxes on his own. Never hurt it. The whole thing lasted maybe 1 second, not over 2 seconds. The audios prove everything. Then they admit in statements and their bail hearing statements and unwritten statements that they intended to kill me. Their intentions were to try to shoot me. Riddle, his little girlfriend that was outside at the time hiding, she came up after he fell down and admitted she was trying to get a shot on me. I was totally unarmed. I had already handed my shotgun to Marcella. She took it in the house, main part of the house, and it was already over, and she was trying to get a shot at me without hitting Hank, Marcella's boy. He was standing behind me. That's attempted murder. And then all their assaults on us and everything, pulling their weapons on us when there was no call for it. And when I went outside and getting down the porch, I let them arrest me because it was just a misdemeanor. I'd be home that night. Well, they never had any warrant either, which is totally illegal, so I knew I had them on that one. They're claiming in Alaska constitutional rights, your civil rights. You don't have them. They don't recognize anything constitutional or civil rights. Alaska, in their own constitution, has a Fourth Amendment type rights, and it goes even further than the Fourth Amendment of the United States. But they don't recognize that in Alaska. They say it's nothing legal. They don't recognize anybody's rights. They can do whatever they want because they have so much money to fight it. So they added all kinds of bogus charges to me. All this, the full statements on my Truth for Trappers site, because it's more involved. This is just basics of what happened. And after he was on the porch to let him put the handcuffs on me, this little punk Neeson stomps me in my knees, kicking everything else, because he had been embarrassed in front of his girlfriend there. And so he's trying to be macho, as if assaulting women isn't macho enough for him. He's got to try to kick and beat on somebody as they're trying to get down. And I have permanent knee damage to my left knee now. May even have to get it replaced. So he puts the handcuffs on extra tight, just out of cruelty. And then he gets, it's all on video, or audio, all this, and he doesn't care. I have bad back or bad knees and health issues. He just doesn't care. He's trying to get over his being embarrassed. He gets up, he goes back inside my house. No search warrants, no arrest warrant. He had nothing. Even with an arrest warrant, you can't enter a person's home. That's Fourth Amendment rights. He goes in without a search warrant and steals the shotgun. And you can hear him on audio unloading it. It was on safety. It's a sealed container, locked container. He's emptying that container also, which is another violation. Without a search warrant, you have to have a search warrant to open a sealed container. And he steals the shotgun. And then he says he's gonna file assault charges. We're walking away, and I said I was the one that was assaulted. I told him it was self-defense. It's on audio twice. I mentioned it was self-defense. So we get into town, and I never in the world thought the DA would go for all that stuff. It was just so obvious and so hokey. But he does not only that, but he sits down with them and makes up another assault on Riddle, who wasn't even near there. She was hiding behind my truck. They made up a whole story that she was up there too on the porch, and he's trying to claim he was never inside, yet the audio, everything else proves it. And even their testimonies, they admit to being inside my home illegally, uninvited, and no warrants or anything else. It's just totally illegal. And then they added an attempted murder charge because the DA and Riddle made up a story saying that I said something about going to kill him and all this. It was just pure fantasy, and they're using this as evidence. It was just pure fantasy. If I had had any intentions of killing them, they would have been dead. I had them cold to rights. I could have done anything I wanted at any time. And it's just ridiculous. So they hold me without bail. I'm not allowed to talk to anybody outside the court or jail. I couldn't do anything. I couldn't even get a lawyer, so the only lawyer I had contact with was the one working on my real estate stuff, and he's scared to do anything, as all lawyers are up there. They don't fight anything. They only do plea bargains in Alaska. And I tried after I've been out. I've been trying for the last year. Nobody does anything up there but plea bargains. So I'm in there for 10 weeks. I'm denied medical treatment. When I got to the jailhouse, my hands were so swollen up from the over-tight handcuffs. For 4 hours they were behind my back on there. I now have nerve damage in both hands and lost a lot of use of both hands. And I was denied medical treatment for any of my injuries. I have a heart condition. I was overprescribed on my heart meds. I was trying to get in to see a cardiologist, get them right before all this happened, because I was overprescribed. And they forced me to take another pill, which thus even lowers my blood pressure even more. My legs and feet were swelling up daily. I couldn't hardly move. I had a solid headache, migraines the entire 10 weeks. Lack of sleep, lack of food. Most of the food in there makes you throw up. I couldn't even eat it. It was just garbage, and a lot of it was rotten, and it was just nasty. The noise in there was solid 24/7. There was just never any rest. It was pure torture. And I was dying. I had lost 20 pounds of meat, not fats, it was muscle I lost. I was in solid pain the whole time, and I have it in writing. They denied me any medical treatments. They said I had to wait until I got out. I was told with my heart meds, if I ever had any swelling and chest pains or headaches and things like this, to get to the emergency room. Well, I was having all these things every day and thought I would die. I was surprised I didn't. My health was getting down so bad by the time that they came up. They offered one plea bargain of a misdemeanor. My lawyer had to go moose hunting for a couple weeks, so in the meantime the troopers sniveled and whined, said they didn't want me to have guns or anything else for the rest of my life. They wanted me to be a criminal because I embarrassed him. So they wouldn't plea bargain for anything less than a felony, and I had to get out. I was going to die in another week or two. I was told, as here, I have testimonies on everything, that when I was forced to take this plea bargain, it was just, I was never allowed to defend myself. I wasn't allowed to make a statement or anything at that time. And also too, with the grand jury to get their indictment, that was another major illegal activities they did. The DA convinced the jury that I was somebody else. Some jurors in there asked about somebody from Livengood, which is 80 miles from my house. And DA says that's where I lived. There's a guy there that lives across, a native guy. He lives across from the camps there, gold mining camps. And he's caused lots of troubles and everything, and DA's letting people know, making them think that that's me, and this is where I live. It's 80 miles away from where I live. Also, the DA's telling them that I had a confession. I confessed. It was the pure made up story, and conveniently Riddle's audio was turned off, so they have nothing there. It's just their lying words against my truthful words. And I wasn't allowed at grand jury. I wasn't even told about it, so I had no opportunities to show any evidence or speak or anything else. It was a kangaroo court again. It was a show thing. There was nothing legal about it at all. Nothing legal about any of this. The original warrant, they're claiming they had a warrant for my arrest. It's dated. It's on my site. I got a copy of it. At the top of the warrant is dated the 10th. That's when I was first shown and given to me, just minutes before the arraignment hearing. They kept me in the drunk tank holding cell thing for 2 days before the arraignment. There was blood on the walls and urine, everything. It was a filthy, filthy place. I'm not allowed to have any shoes or socks or anything else in these nasty places. It's disease ridden like crazy. And anyways, the warrant was completely bogus. They post-dated it on the 7th. It was never filled out on the bottom. At the time of arrest, the arresting officer must fill out the bottom part, and then you turn it back into the judge that issued it. It was never done. This is 2 days later, still never done. It's because they had just got it set up on the 10th before the arraignment, and little Neeson wasn't there to sign it and fill out the bottom part, so he was off someplace else, so they sent it over blank. It's a bogus warrant. It's fabricated evidence, and the whole arrest, the whole detention, everything is very, very illegal on just that alone. But there's hundreds of things that they did that was illegal. After I was in there almost 3 weeks, Marcella was up at the house by herself, and Hank had went back for school. Well, my attorney had gone up there to take pictures of the place, and he wanted to go down the road to see where Sarah and Ken were staying. They're mooching off of neighbors. They never did move to their property because they don't know how to take care of themselves. They always mooch off somebody else. So they're mooching off elderly couple neighbors who aren't good people to start with anyways. They've got a $2,000 bounty on anybody that will kill one of their other neighbors up there. And these are the type of people they're hanging with. Sarah and Ken hung out with meth addicts and all this down in Arizona, and they said that life was over for them, but obviously it's not. But troopers like these kind of people. They are there living with these people. So Marcella drives a lawyer up to take pictures of their driveway and see where they're at. They've got big signs up protected with DuPont, which is explosives, and Winchester, and all these other, they're white supremacist types and militant types, and they just think nobody can do anything to them for anything they do, and they do a lot. Nothing legal. So a little bit later they run down and they get with their crooked lawyer Wildridge. They take out a restraining order on Marcella and Hank. Now they're starting to harass them. So Hank was already in West Virginia. He wasn't even up there. Yet this crooked judge signs off on all this bogus stuff again. Outrageous lies saying that Marcella talked about killing them, chopping them up in little pieces, feeding them to animals. They claim to have emails of this, which is pure fantasy. They have nothing was ever said about them. And it just shows their mental instabilities even further. So I tell Marcella, just leave. She packs up everything. It was up there. The front porch was just loaded with stuff. We have pictures of how it was the day of the 8th. I was using it. I had construction materials. My tools were out there because I was working outside finishing up roofs on workshops. And she packs up all the things and puts them out in trailers in different places where I told her to put it. So I could come back up when I got out of jail and get the last of the stuff and get out of there. I already had ferry tickets ready in the fall time. I had planned to go to fish camp, put up my salmon, and get my moose before leaving. So anyways, she does all that, packs everything up, and goes back to West Virginia. So then the troopers decide they want to go up and take their own pictures. My dad had flew up there. He was living in my pickup in Walmart parking lot, 82 years old, because he didn't want me to be up there alone. And I had told him he should stay in Arizona, but he came up anyways. Thought he could help out, which there was nothing anybody could do at this point, because I had no lawyer, nothing that would represent me or bring up anything of these illegal facts. It was just, they said they do whatever they want up there to you, and there's nothing you can do about it. I met a lot of other people in the jail who were in the same predicament. They just make up stuff on people because they have so much money in their judicial fund. So these troopers said they want to take pictures of everything. Well, my dad offered to take them up there. He had the keys to the house, and let them in, let them take their pictures. And my lawyer told them and all this. Well, come find out, they went up anyways. No search warrants, nothing was ever shown to nobody. I had my lawyer there, my dad was there, I was in jail. They could have served search warrant to anybody. They never did. They went up there, cut my gate, locks on my gate. They went in, kicked in the door of the house. I have all their pictures of all this. They went in to take pictures of a place. The whole scene had changed. There was no point in it. Their pictures are worthless. They posed in places where I have pictures of the day, how it looked on the day. There's no way they could stand there because there was stuff piled up getting ready to be loaded on the front porch, and they made a whole pretend scene of it, and it's just so obviously faked and fabricated evidence. It's just amazing. And to break and enter for a third time, this was the third breaking and entering, and 2 illegal arrests for no probable causes, no anything. And yet they're ignoring all the crimes that were committed against me. I was the victim up there of many, many crimes. I had had a Suburban stolen earlier, a few years earlier, by this drug dealer, and some other things. They refused to do anything about that too. Sergeant Yancey stated morning of the 8th, when I asked him why they don't do anything to the drug dealers and thieves and so forth up there doing all these things, Yancey quoted saying that they're friends of his. He likes them, he doesn't like me. State troopers will never do anything to help me, and they will do everything they can to get me on something, he said. So they just had it out for me, and the only thing is, I found out from bail hearings, their whole reason for getting the warrants and harassing me and all was their inner office information, which I just finally found out was the bogus reports from Social Security, because they were scared of how I looked and my name and the fact that I lived out remote. I was going to go for a grant to build a movie set, because Alaska has a $500,000 grant for anybody that will build movies, promote movie business. And I was doing 18th century reenactments and these things, and know a lot of people in movie business. We're going to build a little fort and native village and all for a tourist attraction and bring commerce to the area for everybody. Would have been a great deal for the whole area. Several villages around would have had some income. And they said I was building a compound, I was a survivalist type. I mean, I'm into 18th century things, flintlock rifles and all. It's technology 300 years ago. I do the French and Indian War revolutionary type reenactments. it's nothing. Reenactors are the best people there are in the country. Family comes first, and you can believe everything. All the deals are honest and truthful. It's just crazy what these people made up about me just because of the way I looked in my name. It was discrimination, pure and simple, on that, and they were trying to turn me into a criminal because of this. There's not one legal thing they ever did up there to me, and I have all the evidence to prove every single thing here and more. There's just lots more crimes that they did, and these are just the biggie ones, and I need to get this straightened out, get my name cleared. We need a lawyer, somebody who can help, whoever can help to get this straightened out. It's insane. They want me to be a criminal, and all I've ever done is raise my kids and spend everything I've ever had on my kids and my family my whole life. I've never had a vacation or a day off to do something just for fun. I've thought at this age, all my kids are grown now. My son I raised up since he was 5 months old, completely by myself. He's in the Navy. Still, he's got his own family. Great dad. He's married a gal with a baby, took that baby as his own. Now they have their own, so he's got 2 daughters of his own. My other daughter Rachel is great, one of the twins from my first wife, who took off when they were 1.5 years old. They never met her. My son's never met his mom. Rachel's raising her kids, been in the Navy and done all this. Rebecca and Sarah are just pure evil. And Cindy, she definitely has mental issues. Her husband thinks he's a preacher because Sarah bought him a $30 preaching license in the back of a magazine. So now they're conning people, saying he's a preacher, and they're doing all this Christian stuff, but they lie and steal and rob from everybody. They only worship money, and they're just greedy people. And that's what started all this mess, is just their greed and their jealousies. My ex, Cindy, has been married to this guy since within about a year or so after our divorce. She married this guy, Daryl, and she's still jealous, and so are my daughters. Anybody I've ever met, I've found out all kinds of stuff about them after this has happened, and everybody I've been with since, they've told lies and tried to get me broke up with them, and it's just insane that they won't stay out of my life now, and caused all these troubles. So there's a lot of lawsuits here. A good lawyer, you can make millions on this thing, or it's not billions. Alaska has $8 billion in their judicial fund to go after. They used the media. Many outlets told outrageous lies about me, and it was brought up in the grand jury stuff. Pure lies, and they refused to tell the truth. I've wrote to all of them. They refused to do anything. I have some of the clippings, but it went nationwide. They've slandered my name nationwide. There's such a huge slander suit going on here. I've wrote to FBI, Internal Affairs. I've wrote to both senators of Alaska, governor, many times. I wrote to all kinds of these other organizations that are supposed to be for civil rights, ACLU, and of course they don't do anything but freedom of speech. If you're a group of people and you can't speak, that's the only thing they get involved in, they said. I've been to the Bar Association. There's currently I filed a report against Wildridge for all his illegal activities and misuse of the system. There's stuff called gaming the system, and that's what they did. They were using the system and their knowledge that I was on a blacklist to come after me and use the courts and so forth to do all their dirty work on me. There's not one thing they did against me that is legal. and we have all the evidence. So there's 2 petition sites on the Truth for Trapper site, and that's basically it in a nutshell. The short version of it. It would take days to go over all the evidence I have. It's just a clear-cut case of harassment and defamation of my character, and false arrests and tortures and illegal breaking and enterings, and just abuse of the whole process. Entrapments, excessive force, there's just kidnapping, there's just hundreds of crimes they committed here, and I've got that on paper here also, and the meanings of all of them, and I have the statutes and everything that go along with everything I've got. So there's no way they can deny any of the evidence, because the audio statements, pictures, a lot of them are theirs. They did it. I've got telephone conversations taped. They taped it, of Sarah and Ken lying, and Riddle lying, troopers lying, everybody lies. I don't understand why. I don't know why I was picked as a target for this. I have no idea. It hasn't all come out yet, I guess, but for some reason they decided to make me an enemy and target me for something. I don't have anything to go after left. I have nothing left. So we desperately need a lawyer or somebody that can straighten this out peacefully. Hopefully through the courts and so forth, because the evidence is here. I don't have the expertise to file it and get it carried out through the system. So I appreciate it. My email is tkillsmany@hotmail.com, and also on Facebook you can find me on my personal Trapper Kills Many page, and the Truth for Trapper Kills Many page, with some of the evidence is on there. And I'll answer anybody that can help. So, well, thank you. I have 2 corrections I had to make. I just watched it through. The day of the arrest, they came out on the 8th, not the 10th. 10th is when they got the warrant. They came out and attacked us on the 8th. And the second correction was concerning my daughter Rachel at the end. She was in the Army, not the Navy. My son's in the Navy, but she was in the Army. Humvee driver in Iraq, in the second invasion. And my son in the Navy was on Special Forces duty with a special squad that rode on merchant ships to guard against pirates. And he also saw a lot of they both saw a lot of action and lost friends and in combat and everything. So that's what I needed to add and straighten out those 2 glitches I screwed up on.